Hi there everyone. I'm in the mood for seafood, which I really love. So we're going to make some shrimp scampi today. And I did get some of this really good shrimp. It's a 2-pound bag of shrimp that's already been deveined, which takes all the work out. And the shells are really easy to remove on this. So I'm going to make a big pan of this. And also shrimp scampi is served with pasta, so I'm going to use linguine. This is a very simple, super easy recipe to make, and it's really delicious. So the first thing we're going to do is, since this is frozen, we're going to run it under cold water for 10 minutes. You can see the shrimp is already deveined. It takes so much work out of doing it, and the shells are really easy to remove. You want to start boiling a pot of water, and you're going to put salt in, and I have like a tablespoon. And you can get your shrimp and your linguine done at the same time simultaneously. So we're heating up our salted water. So while you're boiling your water for your pasta, you can start getting everything ready for the shrimp. So what you're going to want to do after you rinse your frozen shrimp, if it's frozen, if it's not frozen, that's fine. I've rinsed all this in cold water. This is 2 pounds of shrimp, and the recipe calls for 2 pounds. So this recipe is for 2 pounds of shrimp. You can cut it in half if you want. But what you want to do is you want to remove the shells, leave the tails on, and of course that's if you already have deveined shrimp. It's so easy to buy, frozen. It's basically fresh frozen, and if it's deveined, all you have to do is peel it off. It's super simple to do. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take all the shells off these and set them aside. So I'll demonstrate how to do this. Here's your tail. You just peel it off like this on one side, and then you turn it over and peel it off like this right up until where the tail is, right here. And that way all this shrimp is free of your shell, and you just have the tail here. It's real simple to do. So our water's boiling, and I'm going to put our pasta in now. And once it reaches a boil again, I'm going to cook it for about 7 or 8 minutes, al dente, not 100% cooked. So here is one with a little bit of the shell still on it, and you can peel that off where it's completely like this. So that way there's no shell on it. And then there might be one that has a little bit of the shell on the end, and that's okay too. But if you want, you can just take that whole thing off. You leave the tail on. See, the tail is still there, but the shell is off. And I've seen it done both ways, however you want. So we're just going to continue to remove these shells, and you can see how easy it is, how they come right off. And this shell is off the little tail too, so it can be done like this. So we're going to finish these up. Okay, it's done now. Now we're going to drain it and set it aside. Okay, our shrimp has been completely shelled. We're going to put it aside now. And now we're going to prepare, we have a cup of butter. We're going to melt this on the stove on low so it doesn't burn. We need 1 tablespoon of fresh squeezed lemon juice. So we're going to use a tablespoon. So you might put a little more or a little less. That's a tablespoon. I will be taking that seed out. Anyway, then we're going to chop up 1 tablespoon of chopped fresh parsley. If you don't have fresh parsley, don't fret. You can use the dried parsley that you get in the store. And sometimes that's all I have, and sometimes I don't have that and I just have fresh. So I'm going to chop this up real fine. This pretty much acts as a garnish, and the reason I bought Italian parsley is because I'm going to be using it to make something Italian next week. So it doesn't matter which parsley you use. I just like the Italian when I'm making Italian food, so I'm going to use this. So you want a tablespoon of fresh lemon juice, a tablespoon of parsley, 1 cup of butter, and you're going to have 1 tablespoon of fresh chopped garlic, or you can just put a teaspoon of fresh minced garlic, or however much you want. Don't overwhelm it too much, like don't put 2 tablespoons. You could actually put up to a tablespoon of garlic because this is a garlicky seafood. Okay, I always make my scampi, I add a little bit of white wine while it's on the stove, which I'm going to show you in a moment. But in the meantime, I really want a glass of wine. I haven't had wine in a long, long time. And this is chilled Chardonnay. So I'm going to take a sip. So good. And so this is the same wine that I'm going to use in my scampi sauce. So I'm going to go over to the stove right now and show you how I do this. So before we go over to the stove, what we're going to do is arrange all this shrimp in a pan like this. It's all going to be arranged kind of layered like this. And that way, after we melt everything on the stove, we're just going to pour it right over. This recipe is so simple. It is absolutely a wonderful recipe. So here's our shrimp. It's in a 9x13 baking pan. It's to the left of my stove, so I can immediately pour the sauce over when I'm done. And then it's going to go in a 450 preheated oven for 12 to 15 minutes. So you want everything close by. We're going to put our 1 cup of butter in a very low heated pan on the stove. And you want it low so it doesn't burn. So once we melt the butter, we're going to add our garlic, we're going to add parsley and our lemon juice, and we're going to stir it all together, and I'm going to add a little splash of wine. I'm using salted butter, so I'm going to put a little bit of salt in here, but not a lot, just like a pinch. I'm not putting a lot of salt in, but I can add the other ingredients now, even though the butter is not totally melted. So here is our lemon juice. And here is our parsley, and our garlic is next. I'm going to put about a tablespoon of garlic in it. I love garlic. So what we're going to do is just kind of stir it around like this. And when the butter is completely melted, we're going to add a little bit of wine, probably a 1/4 cup. And it will cook down on the stove here. And that's your preference. If you don't want wine, you don't have to add it. I like the way it gives it more flavor. I added a smidget of pepper just to give it a very small kick. And now I'm going to add my wine, my white Chardonnay. That's about a 1/4 cup. And now I'm going to cook it probably 3 to 5 minutes just to cook the alcohol out of it. And I'm going to turn up the heat just a little, and we'll be back. Okay, I'm done cooking the alcohol out of this. It's been probably about 3 or 4 minutes. So now I'm going to turn the stove off, and I'm going to move it over to the shrimp. So here we are. We're going to take our pan, and we're going to pour this sauce all over the shrimp. And this sauce is what makes it scampi. It's really good. Has all that delicious butter and garlic and parsley and everything. Now we're going to put this in a preheated 450-degree oven. I'm going to do 425 because of my gas oven, and it's going to cook for 12 to 15 minutes until the shrimp is. I'm just going to kind of make sure it's all covered. I'm using like a wooden spoon to kind of move it around just to make sure all of the shrimp is covered well. Okay, so this is what scampi that's done looks like. It's pink and a little opaque, just like that. That's how you know it's done, and it took 12 minutes. Okay, what you want to do is you want to get a ladle or a spoon and just put everything over your pasta. And of course you want to get a lot of the sauce on it too, which is so delicious. This serves probably 4 to 6 people. But I made this amount. Whoops, just forget you saw that. So here we are. It looks absolutely delicious. So what we're going to do is taste it now. Here we are. We're ready for the taste test. Before I taste this, I just want to let you know I have a really sweet memory of being 16 and my father taking me out to this really wonderful restaurant, and I had Scampi. I was 16 years old. This restaurant had a trolley, and it still exists. It takes you up to the restaurant, and that is a great memory. So let's give this a try. Perfect, absolutely perfect. Very little salt. And so these noodles have all that sauce in it. So I'm just going to take a small little taste. Delicious with the butter, garlic, parsley. It's all so flavorful. This is by far the easiest Scampi recipe that I've ever seen or made. So if you're in the mood for seafood, specifically Scampi or shrimp, this is an absolute wonderful recipe. It's not only delicious, it's the easiest recipe to make. I hope you give this a try. Thank you for watching.